For today's agenda, what we'll be covering is we want to ensure, as a second webinar, that ensure that everyone understands how we're going to work together on Giving Tuesday. So very specific to the technology we're going to use to onboard you to becoming a UC partner for Giving Tuesday. And Cameron's going to walk through that in detail. It's a lightweight piece of technology, very easy to use, and for us to seamlessly move forward with creating your actual campaign page. So, we need your brand assets, your logos, the font that you would like to use, and we use this as a place where we can communicate and share documents securely. We're going to recap the mini branding discussion that we had in our previous webinar and really just touch on this idea of positioning, messaging, and presentation, really, the overarching themes. And then as Cameron will go through Canva, Buffer, and, working together to talk about Thunderclap and, mention, these technologies where you can really be smart and intelligent with how are you preparing for your Giving Tuesday, not only to make sure you're very proactive in the discussion, that you have content pre-prepared, it's already queued to send, but then you also have technology in place that you can be reactive. So when something happens during the campaign, you can communicate out to your community and be a part of the discussion. And then we're going to talk about, as we wrap up today's discussion, we're going to go through and discuss an exercise where we can talk about, what are the messages for your campaign? What is your theme? We've talked overarchingly that everyone has selected their theme. Let's dive to the next level. What is the message? Why are people going to give on this day? How does it represent them, and how will they want to share, or why will they want to share it with their community? So as I move forward to our next slide here.
Ross, one other thing, we're unable to see the slides currently. I think we might be able to want to see the presentation moving forward as well.
Absolutely, Cameron. Thank you for letting me know this. So what I'm going to do here is I'll activate.
We actually need to thank Roxanne because she's the one who pointed it out to us. So thank you, Roxanne.
Well, thank you, Roxanne. Much appreciated. And just to check the chat window here, I can see. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you again. So now we have the slides up. We can move forward, and I'll pass over to Cameron, and I'm going to change presenter, which will essentially allow Cameron to go through and share Basecamp and really the process that we'll go through to onboard you to UC. So Cameron, I believe now you should be presenting.
Wonderful. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Ross. I really appreciate that. Would you mind confirming that you're able to see my screen right now? Wonderful. Okay, so as Ross had mentioned, I'm going to be providing you an overview of our onboarding technology, which we use that is Basecamp. So we've set it up for everybody so that each one of you will have your own individual accounts, and after this webinar, we will be providing you access to those. And inside of there will be essentially everything that we will need from you as an institution, as well as many of the documents that we've provided to you throughout this process. So I have some screenshots available on the slides, but what I'm actually going to do, because I personally find this to be one of the best ways to do it, is actually just give you a live demonstration. So I've actually set it up so we have a fake account it will look like and how you will be able to interact with it, as well as interacting with us in the process. So if I scroll down here, you'll be able to see that we have a list of to-dos. So in this, we have all the elements that we will need for you to either complete or at least review in the process. So you can see under here we have the approval packet piece, we have the start here piece, so this is going to be giving you all the information, welcoming you to USEED family, kind of giving you a brief overview. You're going to get information about your program manager or the point of contact at USEED, how you will be able to contact them, and basically they will be the person who will be there for you throughout this entire process to make sure that everything is running smoothly and that you are getting all the information that you need, as well as we are getting all the information that we need. One of the other really important things that I'm actually going to go in here to show you is you are able to comment on any one of these things within Basecamp. So for example, if you had a question about either a branding material or potentially something with security or anything along those lines, and you see that it's somewhere in here in Basecamp, you can actually tag your program manager. In this case, it will likely be Kirk Harbaugh. So you'll be able to tag that person in a comment. So if I were to say at kirk.harbaugh@useed.org, then if I did I have a question on this. Once you actually add this comment, Kirk will actually be updated that you've posted something in your Basecamp, so he will immediately get an email notification saying, hey, so-and-so has a question about this area. So this is a really great way for you to, one, keep track of all the information and stuff that's moving through this process, as well as actually being able to tag your program manager at UC to make sure that they are informed in the process as well. So that's going to be something that you're able to do throughout the entire process. As, again, this is on any of these pieces throughout here. And the great thing is, too, is that if there are any questions about Basecamp moving forward, Basecamp does a phenomenal job of providing you how-to videos directly in their platform. So you'd be able to go up here and say, you know, be able to search, or if you want help, you can watch a quick video about how discussions are set up. You can see a video on to-dos, all of this. So now that we have a basic overview of how Basecamp functions, what I'm going to do is kind of give you a brief overview of all the components in here that we will be looking for as UC. So in here we have the approval packet, which I believe you'll be receiving in an email. So you'll have this in two locations. So if any of you are like me, you wind up with 1,000 emails a day. So this is a good place so we know where it is at all times, and so we don't have to dig through our email boxes as often. So you'll see that there's the MSA, there is a register, USEED as a vendor, and there's also setting up the WePay account. So this will give you details of all those things in there. This will also includes the how-to comment to Basecamp. So again, if we have any questions on that as well, I have included those in here for the team, so that if you would need to go back and get a refresher, that's in here as well. We also have information on developing a theme. So we have empathy-centric positioning. So this is one of the categories. There's more information in here, but this is going to be a great way of helping you develop a theme, which we will be touching on later in this presentation as well. This will also be where you will be uploading all of your branding materials for USEED so that we can develop your site to match your institution. So what we ask for from you in here will be your institution brand guidelines, your logos, your primary and secondary colors, your institutional fonts, as well as the copy for the entirety of your Giving Tuesday page. This will include the header, the About section, and then a variety of components within the body of the page as well. We've also included for you all of the recommended resources we will be reviewing in more depth in this presentation. We've also included for you more information on them in here as well as tutorial videos, as well as information on how to implement and best practices. So those are all included in here as well. We also have a timeline and checklist for us as USEED and you as well. So when USEED will be able to provide your website for review, then you will be able to review the website. Does the copy look good? All of these kind of things. We will make final adjustments, and then we'll launch a page. And so the nice thing is, as these things go along, if you are done and you've already done the Welcome to USEED component, you're able to tick it off, and then it will kind of go off your checklist. But everything is stored and recorded in the Basecamp overall. So if you, for some reason, you need to go back and review something or look at something again, it is all saved in Basecamp. All right, so I'm hoping that wasn't too much information right away. I'd like to open it up. If there are any general questions we have about this at this current moment in time, I'd be more than happy to address them for people. So please feel free to toss any questions in the chat window. All right, it seems as if things are going quite well, and hopefully I've done a good job of making this fairly clear. So if there are any questions, again, please feel free to ask them towards the end, and we're more than happy to address those for you. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on. So we've kind of provided, given you a good idea of what we would need to get started. We've provided you an overview of what we would need in terms of how you could upload and comment things. That's one of the components that I think is really important too. I'm actually going to go back here so I can show you. But if we were asking you to upload your institution logo documents directly to your Basecamp, so again, they will be stored all in one place for easy reference for both the institution as well as for us as USEED. So in this case, it's very simple. All you would need to do is select a file, find something. In this case, I'll upload my profile picture. Okay, wonderful. I will add this as a comment, and boom, that document is automatically uploaded right to Basecamp, making everything very smooth, very seamless. So now that it's already uploaded, we will be able to have access to it, you will be able to have access to it, and we'll be able to build your platform from there. So now that we've already reviewed this, we've also reviewed all the things that USEED will need. I'm actually going to turn the ball back over to Ross, and he's going to lead us through a little bit of the three-step mini branding process. So I'm going to quick make Ross the presenter, and we will go from there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Cameron. Show my screen here. So essentially, we're talking about the overall concept of branding and fundraising, and really the central point of our first webinar, the playbook. Our partnership this year with Giving Tuesday was around institutions who are looking to launch very quickly and to do this in a process that's manageable on top of all the other things they're doing, the year-end work that they're putting together, having still an innovative fundraising campaign. So the mini branding process that I'm talking about here is one that's very manageable and can be done in the next 2 weeks. So we'll only speak to the fundamental elements. Obviously, there's many other elements to creating a brand. This is really distilled down to what we believe to be the core activities that you need to go through to create that and to expand on your Giving Tuesday brand. So the first one being positioning. So this is really the introspective process in branding, and essentially really thinking through and asking yourself those tough questions. Why would someone give to this campaign? What is this campaign? Why are we as an institution going forward with creating a Giving Tuesday campaign? Starting to build out that copy and to really have a shared perspective across all of those working on this initiative. Likely those on the call are the leaders of the initiative, so you can spearhead this discussion, and if it only is you, that can make it very simple. But we do recommend getting feedback and really building out that depth, because an outgrowth of that will be the messaging that you provide. But we want to add one more additional layer here, which is incredibly important in any online social fundraising campaign, and that's really the empathy element. Traditional positioning, is that introspective process. Who are we? What perception do we want to have in the market, in the mind of the customer or the donor? Essentially, what we want to talk about is taking it a step further and really thinking through the brand of the individual. So we talked about yesterday, everyone now has a brand and they're becoming more aware of it every day. You have your Facebook brand, you have your Twitter brand, some people have their online dating profiles, and they're really becoming more mindful as donors and as consumers on essentially the perception that they put off by sharing content. So it's always important, to start off with fundamentally understanding what is this campaign, why does it matter, but then thinking, what will it say about the donor if they share our campaign? What will the feeling that they're going to have? If you think about it, it's a shift in perspective. It's truly an empathetic one. And understanding that will be very important as you really think through and create experiences that people will be gladly sharing with their community. The best example is the ice bucket challenge. People feeling that, that situation represented them well. They were part of a community. They were fun. They were giving back by participating in this activity. That was the experience that they created through that viral campaign. And, although we do consider that oftentimes to be a unicorn, and we're more in the sustainable and predictable fundraising on USEED's end, we do think you can put in those fundamental best practices to position yourself the best to move forward with your Giving Tuesday campaign. We'll talk about a little bit about exactly what you can do in the workshop at the end. But then the next stage is messaging. So really, how are you going to, once you figure out that point of view from your perspective and why you're doing this campaign and what the experience you're going to create and why someone would share it, diversifying your messaging now, really going through the process. We have an overarching theme of this campaign. We have our why statement. We have our what statement. And I do recommend in the positioning exercise, a great fodder for that is How Great Leaders Inspire Action by Simon Sinek, an unbelievable TED Talk on really speaking more, through limbic brain communication and really speaking from the heart, really understanding that why statement. Fantastic for fundraising, a wonderful video by Simon Sinek. But as you understand that overarching statement, really having, messaging go across the board that you can share before the campaign and then truly on that day, what are the stories of your donors? What are the stories of the volunteers that we've talked about that you've already had helping you in this campaign? What are the facts behind the impact? Staying impact focused. Going forward with what are the questions that you're going to propose to your community? What are the quotes from social influencers or famous individuals that are part of your community that you can share and promote? You want to have all of that prepared so that you have an engaging and diverse conversation online. As we'll talk about, and Cameron will show you in the technology we present, that is the proactive nature. We highly recommend allowing you to automatically post those messages, but truly the key to this will be engaging in the discussion. And not only on the institution level, there will be obviously an institution social account, but on the individual level, again, if you have a personal Twitter handle or if your volunteers do, encouraging them and empowering them with those messages to become a part of the discussion proactively, so they're sharing it, but then also reacting to messages when people have questions, reaching out in a timely fashion. This is that 24-hour campaign, and as we talked about in the first, we can open up the day before and leave it open the day after for those donors who want to provide on the day before, the day after. Excuse me. But really staying active on Giving Tuesday and being a part of the discussion. And then the last portion, and as we're going to talk about the technology, you don't need to be a professional graphic designer to create unbelievable images for your campaign. You cannot stress enough, no matter what the platform is, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, when you're going social, you need to go with images. And having those images created up front is an imperative to the success of your campaign. Oftentimes institutions say, well, we do have an internal graphic designer. We have one image created and we're going to push that out. That is better than not having anything, but having diverse images that, again, marry to the messaging that you're going to create. You can do that in less than a minute, as Cameron will show you with a tool like Canva, a free tool, an unbelievable one. They're even offering the upgraded packages for free for nonprofits. So, especially a great technology there. But, you want to make sure you're thinking introspection, you have your position. You're also thinking through the mind of the person who will share your content, the donor, so those donor profiles, understanding who they are and really challenging yourself on why they would actually share. And even, one thing that although, is fundamental practice, we don't often see is just asking the donors, why would they share? Engaging them in the discussion, getting a roundtable together, whether virtually like we're doing here or just picking up the phone or meeting in person and just asking them. In doing that, you're bringing the community together. You're doing this all as one team, and that can be incredibly helpful and inspire them to share on the actual day. So we recommend doing that early, starting that process, building out those messages and scheduling them through Buffer or, any other software you have similar. And then using Canva to essentially create images that are going to ignite people to share. We do know the data does show that posts that do have an image included have a higher likelihood of being shared with their community. And then one final point, and I'm going to pass it back over to Cameron, he's the expert on these technologies, is essentially to also use video. And it doesn't need to be professional video. Yes, typically the campaign pages are more of a professional style when you do your video, although we do see success in creating videos that aren't professionally done. With regard to video, sharing thank yous on video, whether that's you running the initiative or your volunteers sharing their thanks and posting that online or emailing that out to your community, it's a great way to make a human connection. And you can do that using an iPad, an iPhone, and it really doesn't have to be professional. It's really the meaning that counts. And a great partner we have at USEED is Australian National University, and Marie, who runs their program, an absolute innovator in fundraising, has a long-term view, incredibly intelligent, had, through us debriefing on their campaign, had raised over $50,000 in a Giving Day campaign. She said to me, I wish we would have even done more video. They had utilized video to great success, but just that idea that even thanking the volunteers in our community or the donors or the social influencers, it just made it more of a human connection. So I highly recommend that as well. But with that, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pass it back over to Cameron, who's going to share essentially how to use these technologies. If there are any questions as we make the transfer back over, please feel free to write them into the chat. Or if you'd like to have any more conversations about your position, your messaging, or your presentation, I'm more than happy to spend the time. As Cameron mentioned, Kirk Hardball will be your program manager for this initiative, but both Cameron and I work very closely with Kirk, and we can provide our email addresses as well to support creating this content, ensuring that you have engaging material for your campaign. So with that, I will pass it back over, but if you do have those questions, please feel free to reach out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ross. Ross touches on a lot of great things there, talking about the importance of messaging and positioning, and ultimately what I'll be touching on is more that presentation piece. As I mentioned earlier, I come from an artistic background, and so I'll be reviewing with you again, and this is my personal favorite way of doing things, is actually showing you a live version of it. I'll be showing you how to use Canva. So again, the information for Canva will be in the Basecamp, and we can also provide links for that following this presentation as well. But I'm just going to kind of start here with the overview, and then we'll kind of dive in a little bit deeper. So Canva, as Ross mentioned, is a great resource when it comes to developing beautiful, well-designed images. You don't have to have an art degree. In fact, they've made it very simple, very easy, and you all will have the perks if you are a nonprofit that you get to use some of their more advanced products for free. So what we're going to do right here is we're actually going to build a live version of something right now. So as you can see, they've made it easy for you by giving you pre-built sizes for either social media, different types of documents. If you were going to do other marketing materials, whether it be like a web page or social media or email headers, they provide you pre-built template sizes for all of these things, making, so we don't wind up with any image sizing issues, we don't run into any problems, this looks warped or this looks that. So they've done a really good job of making this easy for you. So let's just do our basic social media post. So once we go in here, it'll pull up a template overview for you. So once this is pulled up, you can see on the left side that they have pre-built templates that you could use. I mean, this is not obviously a Christmas campaign, but they give you pre-built templates if you are interested. And you can search all types of different things. So you can click up here, and it'll actually provide you with a variety of options as well. So they provide pre-designed photos, they provide illustrations, they provide a variety of different things. So let's just start with a basic photo. So if we click photo, let's just say this one, because I'm in Colorado and it's getting kind of cold, so I kind of want it to be a little bit of a beach theme. So I'm going to bring this in. I can set this up on my social media image. So I put that on there, and then it's pretty easy to add some sort of background. So we want that space on the bottom to be filled in. Let's put something like this in there. So now that's down there on the bottom. Pretty simple stuff. Then all you need to do is add text. Again, they give you pre-set out designs that are really beautiful. I mean, these would take me hours to build, but they're built in right here for you right away. So it'd be very easy to do something like this. Just click that. It shows up. We just center it. We can do hashtag, if I can spell, Giving Tuesday. So that's a very basic version, but you can see how this has a lot of opportunity for you as an institution to build a beautiful image. So once you do this, you can adjust sizes. You can actually, what's really cool is if your institution has images that are pre-selected or you think would really represent your institution well, you can actually upload them to this as well. So if I were to delete this, let's say I wanted to use this one from my grandparents' cabin. So let's say we put this in here. You can upload those images directly to your social media post, and then you can put whatever you would like to do. So again, it's customizable. It can match your institution perfectly. You can put your institution logo in here. So let's say I wanted to add the USEED logo in here as well. I know that's not the most beautiful thing we've ever seen, but it's just giving you an example of how easy it is to add the elements that you would want or you would need to this. I see we have a question. Actually, it's coming from Kirk. We can provide opportunities and places to find images, but quite honestly, Canva does a great job of giving you images that are actually pre-approved. They're on their website and they're labeled as free. There may be institutional images that you may want to select from as well, so those are easily uploadable and available as well. So there you can see there's a lot of easy ways to adjust, a lot of easy ways to really make an image yours. You can really make it customizable to your institution. And towards the end of this, again, we've mentioned we'll be doing a workshop. We'll be helping you develop what is some of the wording, what is the message you want to produce, and then we'll be helping you, develop that, and then you can use those on your social media posts as well. So you can go through it here, and you can create anywhere from 10, 15, however many you feel comfortable. You can make images for your campaign through here, save them and download them and have them ready to go. And that actually brings me to our next tool that I really, really enjoy, and I actually got to use quite a bit when I was working at the University of Arizona, and that would be Buffer. So again, I'm going to show you a live demonstration of how Buffer works. So what Buffer is, essentially, it is a social media queuing platform. So essentially you can pre-input up to 10 posts that you can then have scheduled to post to your social media platforms. So in my case, I've got a Twitter and I've got a LinkedIn. So what you can do is you can upload photos, you can upload videos. So as we mentioned earlier, Ross was talking about ANU, one of our current partner institutions, was looking to include more videos in their campaign. This is providing you a great opportunity to, since you can schedule this out to go at certain times throughout the day, you could pre-make a video saying, hey, we're halfway there, we thank you so much for your support. You've all been so fantastic. You can pre-make that video, and you can schedule that to go out midway through the day. And you can kind of schedule and customize and create videos, and like Ross said, they don't need to be professional. They don't need to have all the details and all this kind of stuff. What people are really looking for is that personal touch. They're looking for you to truly be engaging, and this tool will help you engage in a way that takes a little bit of stress off your shoulders, because you can pre-set up when you would like for those messages to go out. So I can provide you an example. So if I were to post something like hashtag Giving Tuesday is awesome. If I were to post something like that, you can see that that's a simple message. What I can do is I can create an image. It's actually Buffer has their own service called Pablo, which you can build an image for this. You can add a photo or a video. You can add a link to some sort of document. You could add a link to your giving page. You can add whatever you would like to this. But the nice thing is that you can schedule when you would like for this to go out. So you can see this is just a basic thing, and then I can click here, and I can have it share it now, or I can schedule this post. So you can see, let's say, if I wanted this to go out on December 1st, on Giving Tuesday, if I wanted it to go out at, let's say I wanted it to go out at 10:31 a.m. So I wanted to say hashtag Giving Tuesday is awesome. I could schedule that to go out on Giving Tuesday at 10:31 a.m. So now that's scheduled. You can see right here it's scheduled to go out at 10:31 a.m. Hashtag Giving Tuesday is awesome. The nice thing is if I wanted to put another message in here, but I also wanted to link it to, and for an institution, you may want to link it to Twitter or Facebook or something else. You can easily add all of those accounts over here. And so I wanted to share it on both of those. Now I could share it on my Twitter and on my LinkedIn, and I could share another message at another time. Now, the very neat thing about Buffer that is really beneficial when it comes to running a campaign is they provide you with analytics surrounding those postings. So I previously posted some information, and I don't have that many followers personally, but the nice thing is that you can see how many times it's been retweeted, how many times people have liked the information you've posted, how many times people have mentioned either you or your post or something along those lines. And it also gives you a potential of how many people your message may have reached. So this is either people scrolling through it on Twitter or scrolling past it on Facebook. It actually records how many people run past that piece of information or your image or whatever it may be that you're posting. So it gives you really good analytics. And the nice thing is, if someone retweets it will actually load who that person was. So you can then engage saying, thank you so much for the retweet. We really appreciate it. We thank you for all of your support. Same thing with the likes and same thing with the mentions. It'll tell you who was able to do those things. So, and it also shows you what's the most popular, what's the least popular. So it gives you a lot of great information that, one, you can build on this year, so that if you intend on doing another campaign potentially next year, or you're looking to do a Day of Giving campaign later in the year, it'll give you a lot of good information about what kind of messaging worked with the audience we were reaching. So it'll give you a lot of good stuff to build on for the future. And that's why we think that these tools are great to initiate now. And then as you continue to build momentum, you can continue to gather information that's only going to help you become more and more effective at reaching the potential audiences you're looking to get in touch with. The other piece of Buffer is that they provide you the ability to schedule. So you could preload up to 10 things, as I mentioned earlier, on their free account. And you can schedule at what times you would like for those to go out during the day. So if you are running a strictly 24, or if you're looking to do a 72-hour campaign, or however long it ends up being, you can schedule when you want posts to go out over the course of those days. So being that Giving Tuesday is obviously a Tuesday, we can schedule on Tuesday when we want those postings to go out. You can schedule on Monday, Wednesday, however it may be. So this is really, really nice because it takes a little bit of stress off of your office of having to constantly monitor everything and like, oh, we need to make sure we send this out. You can preload them, do that in a little bit of the preparation work, and then things really get moving, which is really great, especially in keeping things up and running. So again, these are two of the tools that we as USEED use, and then I personally use as well. And I'd love to be able to open this back up to see, that was a lot of information again, and I want to see if there might be any questions from anybody listening in right now. I said question, if I prefer Buffer over Hootsuite, and I personally, I do prefer Buffer over Hootsuite, and the only reason is because I have, sorry, my mouse was a little sensitive there. I do prefer Buffer over Hootsuite because Buffer allows me to manage multiple different accounts, and it provides me a lot of the analytics that I like to see and what I consider to be a very user-friendly user face. One of the other nice and very beneficial things about Buffer is it allows you to add multiple team members to the account so that you could have, if there's 5 to 6 people on your team, you could all be members on Buffer. So, oh, I just saw this awesome tweet from a student. You can retweet that or schedule that to go out later in the day. So it's a great collaboration tool as well as a great social media management tool as well. And that's really all that I have in terms of Canva and Buffer. We do have a few more tools for you, and we want to be sensitive of everybody's time. So I'm going to hand things back over to Ross, and he'll be able to review Thunderclap with you as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Cameron, for the overview. And what we're going to show here is Thunderclap, a really wonderful technology that you can use. And started with one of the biggest Thunderclap campaigns was actually the Obama administration used the Thunderclap. You could actually see the video walkthrough on the homepage of their website. But really what Thunderclap allows you to do is have your community donate their social presence so that you can push a message out at one time to all of their networks. So the way the algorithms of social media work, obviously having everything push out at the exact time lets you reach that second and third concentric ring. So really a wonderful piece of technology here and very easy to use. All you really need to do is you set up your account, only takes a few minutes, and then you'll be entered into a page. And if you can press start campaign, it's another way to navigate here if you get lost. But you go here and you essentially can start your campaign. You'll notice they even have a crowdfunding section where they just provide an overview of why it's such a good idea to use Thunderclap, to augment your crowdfunding strategy. But all you do here is you enter information about yourself, about your campaign. Again, this is content you're already creating for your page that you'll be using with USEED. So you can copy and paste this over here. All of the same. Very simple to go through. And then you'll notice you'll have the ability to add a photo and then to edit your story and then essentially your email. And essentially what you get to do once you enter in all this information, they provide you a landing page where individuals can read about your story and sign up. It is a good way to have a page prepared for people to learn about your campaign. Let's say you haven't put it on your website. It's another platform where you can direct users to learn that you're doing a Giving Tuesday campaign and for them to donate. And what we do see, and as I mentioned in my story, that with ANU, I actually donated my personal social presence to their campaign, looking to raise money around programs for mental health. And essentially what I also did because I felt more engaged with their campaign. Obviously, I was helping consult on, running the campaign, but the engagement that, they invited me to participate, I believe that as a donor, it made me feel more comfortable with their campaign. Obviously, shared it with my social network, which represented me as a person and started conversations both on and offline. I had then participated in actually donating to their campaign. So, the question we do get is, if someone donates their social network, do you think they're less likely to then give to their campaign? Although this is based in more empirical evidence than hard data, our hypothesis is that with someone contributing now to their social presence, they're more likely to become a part of the community and to provide not only that social reach and social support, but also a donation to your campaign. Now, when speaking to Maria, she's looking to move forward on next year's campaign. One advice that she wanted to share is that it's not just Thunderclap. Although it's a fantastic tool, highly recommend setting it up. It would only take a few minutes this afternoon or after or later this week, but also to identify those social influencers and bring them in as volunteers. Empower them with those images that you'll create in Canva. Empower them with those messages, the stories, the questions, the facts, the quotes. Having all of that prepared for them so that they can advocate on behalf of your campaign more than just this one single post. Thunderclap shoots everything out at the same time, but then misses out on that engagement piece. So we do recommend the idea of who are students, faculty, staff, engaging alum, people on the board who do have large social networks, and building and cultivating that relationships. Would you mind sharing a few messages on the day? Again, it's not just about the one post, but continuing to stay engaged with content and then to become a part of the discussion. So this is Thunderclap, a tool that we highly recommend using with your campaign. Another is Mention. So what Mention allows you to do, and again, all the other accounts, there's the free version. There is a free account for Mention. However, it's just a free trial. It is a paid service. We do think it's one that's worthwhile to investigate if you really want to level up in your ability to stay engaged in the conversation. And really fundamentally, what Mention allows you to do is to monitor your brand online. So we talked about that branding activity in the beginning. Mention allows you to say if you're going to have a hashtag or you're going to have a statement to monitor. And what I've put here is USEED. Now, comically, you will notice that this is a difficult platform for us to use because people spell USEED as used incorrectly. So it's a difficult word to monitor. But for the sake of this, I recently was able to find RIT Taga, a campaign that we're currently running with Rochester Institute of Technology. Fantastic group is finalizing their campaign today. It's exciting to present that they actually just hit their goal. They have a $1,000 offline donation that we'll be putting through. So exciting team, but they're staying engaged with communicating about their campaign. And I can tell that because it is searching and crawling the web for any time they're talking about USEED. So if you have your brand for this campaign, you want to ensure if a social influencer, if somebody is tweeting or commenting on Facebook or in a blog about you, about your website, you can then reach out to them. A big part of what we do at USEED is really bringing communities together and leveraging that community over years. So, we talk about engaging with donors. We look with our crowdfunding campaigns and these giving day campaigns, they can be the impetus of bringing in new individuals to the institution. Oftentimes, crowdfunding donors are new donors to the institution or lapsed donors. So this is a great way to reignite the conversation. Want to make sure you're engaged. So that's why we recommend Mention. Another aspect of this is Twitter, where you can go on. For Giving Tuesday, a huge aspect is the hashtag. The brand of Giving Tuesday is hashtag Giving Tuesday. They're very aware of this. Their logo, if you notice, is actually a hashtag as well. So what you want to do is you want to go to Twitter and monitor, search in the search bar your hashtag, and anyone who's using that hashtag, you should be staying in touch with them. You should have a dedicated person who is monitoring this at the very least on Giving Tuesday. You want to make sure to stay in the conversation. If you have people who are advocating about your brand, send them a private message. See if you can bring them in to really empower them again with the images and the messaging that you have, or if they wouldn't mind providing you their perspective. Asking people for their advice in crowdfunding is one of the big secrets. Not only do you find unbelievable insight, you also are just bringing people into your community. So a big aspect here will be mention, another fantastic tool. So, covering mention, being a way to stay engaged in the conversation. Thunderclap is how you make noise. You can start it right at the beginning of your campaign, or maybe you want to do it midway through, or really to close out strong. All have their pros and cons, but the benefit is just doing one. It's a great kind of first start to, and again, setting your goal low. It's not 500 people. Just try to set a low goal to shoot out for your campaign. Even saying 50 people, get all of your volunteers to sign up. That really, like Buffer, will ensure that there is social activity. Again, these are just technologies that we recommend because they really allow you to focus on, other things during your campaign. So what I'll do here is I want to navigate back over, and Cameron and I are really going to work together to talk about the very end. We're going to discuss, briefly 2 case studies, and then we want to at least pose questions to you for moving forward. And if we have the time at the end, love to open up everyone's mic to have the conversation on what are you thinking about your messaging, about concepts. Happy to answer questions or bring them to a close. So what I'll do is I'm going to present my screen here, and then I'm just going to have Cameron. I'll navigate the presentation moving forward. But let me see. I'll unmute your mic so that you can move forward with our case study on another benefit corporation, USEED, also being a B Corp, where we put our mission right alongside our profits. So, Cameron, would you mind going forward and discussing the case study with Patagonia?
Absolutely. So what we're looking at here is we're talking about that messaging piece. We had mentioned earlier, how do we create a message that's going to be impactful and also really bringing what I like to consider, how is it bringing value to those who are essentially, viewing your message, who are potentially looking to donate to the campaign, who are engaging with the materials you're presenting them. So it's like, how is this bringing them value? So in one of my personal favorite brands, and another brand that I think does a fantastic job at providing effective messaging in this way is Patagonia. And so one of their big movements is that a lot of their clothing is recycled material. So they have essentially this concept that if you have a jacket that's 10, 15 years old and it's kind of getting ragged and torn, you can return it to Patagonia and they will reuse as much of that jacket as possible to then create new jackets for the next generation or whoever else may be purchasing these their clothing. So they've done a really good job of portraying and bringing a message to the table that if you're going to be purchasing a Patagonia piece of clothing, it's kind of asking, am I kind of person who wants to effective with my purchases and I want to be good at recycling and being environmentally friendly. And so in their messaging, they have their jacket is labeled as braving the outdoors. And then they also have another, an outline of that with, 1% annual net revenue is from, they put all this messaging in this image, and it says saving the outdoors above that. So they're really portraying to the people who are out there viewing their products and in their marketing that they're a company that really cares. They're a company that cares about, their product as well as the people who are using their product. And so that kind of really asks, the people who are viewing this, am I this kind of person? Am I the person who really is impacted by this? And Ross, I know that you have a lot of experience with Patagonia as well, and I'd love to get a little bit of your insight, kind of what you see with this as well.
Absolutely. So, if we think about, what we can learn from, a brand like Patagonia in the fundraising world is, really about, they understand who they are and they have these overarching messages. But, thinking about when somebody reviews this and, they have this understanding that people are recycling their material, when I share something for Patagonia, it really is saying, as Cameron mentioned, about myself that, I'm someone who cares about the environment. I'm environmentally conscious. Obviously, the design is another aspect on, people feel that that represents their personal brand and, the image that they're trying to portray. And, as you do your campaign, again, the value of those images, whether they be pictures of people that you're impacting or those students for the actual scholarships that you'll be giving out, including that in your social media presence and doing it all underneath that overarching brand, that overarching position that you're going to take in the mind of everyone. And, again, thinking through that empathetic perspective can really be a fantastic way to move forward. Patagonia, we do recommend continuing to look at the story and to see what can you learn from, these brands that are really paving the way. A lot of the B Corp brands are fantastic examples of really taking not only, the value of maximizing shareholder value, but maximizing stakeholder value. So really thinking of everyone involved. Really great examples here.
And when I look at this too, I think of a fundraising campaign, and I think of something like donating now with a picture of an alumni, and then so that they can build the future with a picture of a student. Just kind of like looking at the words that they're using. So like braving the outdoors, saving the outdoors. So just thinking of ways that you can really draw in the people who you are seeing your messaging as well is a really big takeaway from this as well. And I think we can go, Ross, I think we can go on to the next one as well. This is actually from William and Mary College as well. And so they did a One Tribe Day, which was their day of giving. And I think this is just a really good example of a higher education campaign that's really focusing in on that, alumni and students and donors are all part of this one community. They're all part of this one institution. They're a part of the overall culture. And Ross is going to have to help me out with this, but there's a fantastic book about being a part of a tribe and being part of one liked group. You have a lot of shared experiences and a lot of shared opportunities, and so that's one of the things they really honed in on because this is one, a beautiful graphic, but two, it's a great way for them to really draw in on their community, and it's using important influential branding pieces from their institution and also important marketing pieces, but as well as really letting their community know that they're welcome, they're a part of their community, and as a part of that, it's by supporting institutions, by supporting one another, it's by supporting each other. So you can see again they use a good hashtag, that hashtag One Tribe One Day. So that was really an effective route for them as well. So this is just a good example of a higher education, marketing piece like this. And and Ross, unless you have anything to add to that, I think we could probably open it up to the workshop piece.
Absolutely. So I think, fantastic point to take it over to, really these questions. We can pause here to see, any kind of comments or questions about what we've been able to present to address those. And then we just want to open it up to see, what is, when you're thinking about your campaign, what is the message that you hope to send out to your audience? What is that overarching theme that you're thinking of? And a great exercise in this as well is to then say, doing the 5 whys. So once you introduce that, well, why will that matter to someone? And then with that answer, asking again, well, why will that matter? Just a fantastic way to understand more of, really why is someone going to give on this day? What is it about Giving Tuesday? What is it about this campaign? And you're going to be able to be part of a big movement. And that's a huge aspect of this, but also having, that unique message, that unique perspective from your institution. So, we'll check the chat here, channel here. Would anyone like to, any questions about what we've discussed, or would anyone like to go to kind of share what they're thinking about their brand, their position, or their message?
Please feel free, if you'd like, feel free to unmute yourself, and we can open up the dialogue as well.
So great question from Roxanne. Really, this partnership marketing and really promoting the campaign in areas or regions where the Giving Tuesday brand is not as popular. So in my research, and I have not seen many institutions do that. However, we do recommend it. One thing we do at USEED, for example, HubSpot, an absolute huge brand, one that we find to be a great organization. We are partnering with them to market, their services, our services, and we're able to benefit from both of our reach. Same thing with Giving Tuesday. To be able to share with this offering with our community, they were able to share it as well as our own. So connecting with other institutions on being able to build that community in your area, and oftentimes inherently in higher education, because you have separate donor populations because of the alumni status, you can partner to really spread the word and to build buzz in your local community. So although we don't necessarily see that too often, definitely a great idea. So, another great question around finding other organizations who are doing a Giving Tuesday campaign. What we can do is we can provide a list of institutions that we have found in higher ed who are running a Giving Tuesday campaign. Basically, in our research to build the platform and to provide these offerings, we've done our due diligence. So we can provide that as a follow up. Other than that, just being able to search, the extended features on Google to just search, other people who you think might be doing a Giving Tuesday would be another way to accomplish that, or reaching out directly. Non-higher ed's basic nonprofit. So I will circle back with the team um, with regard to other nonprofits in the area who likely could be doing a Giving Tuesday as well. There might be some resources that we could share. So I'll table that one, and we'll look to provide that as a follow-up.
I also believe that 92Y has a large base of organizations or companies that have worked with them on their hashtag Giving Tuesday campaigns as well. What we can do is we can look into it a little bit further. We can get back in contact with our connections over at 92Y to see if we can provide you a listing of organizations, and if there's any way of saying, locating where those are, that might be something we could provide for everybody as well.
Fantastic. So Elizabeth shared, really a great, their campaign centered around the scholarship of an individual and her story. So the scholarship recipient. Love the idea of honing in on one story. There was once a quote, a death of 1,000 is a statistic, a death of one is a tragedy. So, honing on that one person's story, having her represented in the graphics that you share, having her direct quotes, really cultivating the story that she has. We do recommend there's a simple process for telling a story that we've learned from one of the experts in brand storytelling, and essentially the idea that a story is an and, but, therefore, very simply put. If you've ever heard someone tell, at a dinner party, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, there's no conflict. To truly have a story, there has to be some level of conflict. If you look at the hero's journey, it's a fundamental element of any story. So you can very easily create a story by just saying, and this happened, but this happened, therefore this outcome. And might be an interesting way to, in a social friendly way, share the story of this individual and their accomplishments and potential challenges that they've overcome. Can oftentimes be a great way to share that message. People remember stories and love to share them. So recommend that as well. And then engaging others on their perspective on the story and their insight into this scholarship fund and this individual's perception of it. But yeah, Elizabeth, that's fantastic. And it sounds like she does have quite the story, which is perfect. It's definitely we do recommend, as we've talked about, if you can get her on video, whether those are just thank you videos or more of a formal video, just having that connection layer for donors and people who are sharing your page really can be a fantastic way to make a connection. And those don't have to be professional in social fundraising, which we've seen in crowdfunding. They just need to have that human element. Anyone else who would want to share?
Ross, there's one.
Or Cameron, can I pass it over to you?
Sure. The one thing I was going to say before we wrap everything up here is that the very unique thing about higher education is that every institution is different than the one next to it. And so each one of you has its own story, has its own piece that's going to be unique to its donor population, its alumni, its students. And having worked in higher ed in the past, I think sometimes it's easy to know what that is internally, and it's really effectively projecting that message back out to the community and the population that takes a little bit of work. But the really cool thing is that there is that story, there is that unique piece that each one of you holds. It's just now, how do you unlock that and how do you get that information out there to your general population? And we as USEED are more than happy to work with you to really start, build, and develop those things. But I just think it's really cool and really encouraging you all to find that piece that's really going to resonate with your populations is going to be one of those really big keys to unlocking your donor population as well.
So I want to pause here at the very end. Any other questions, please send them into the chat or feel free to follow up with us over email. Happy to address any of these points. We'll be following up with the recording to today's discussion as well as the encore session that we had earlier today of yesterday's discussion. But I want to pause here. Any kind of questions or comments, happy to field them now or as I mentioned at a later date. Looks like we don't have any questions coming through the chat. If you do, continue to type them. But I want to personally say thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure. Our goal here is to introduce these technologies that we find to be very effective in running an online fundraising campaign in this nature, as well as just to introduce a few questions you can ask yourself as you're looking to build your own story. It sounds like many of you, which is exciting to hear, are very along the way with that process, and that you'll be looking to more finalize than begin, which is a great stage to be in. So, from my perspective, just wanted to share our thanks again. And if you have any questions, you'll have an email from us that will have next steps. We'll invite you to the base camp. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We're happy to be involved and answer any questions, to review messaging, either on an overarching basis or social content that you're creating, as well as with your USEED campaign page, the Giving Day, we can also review that as well. But without that, it's just again really a pleasure. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.